My name is Roy Holmes. I'm currently a roughneck with Deepwell Services. On April 16th, 2023, I sustained an injury to my left hand while working on the safety door of the tongs. I can't stress enough about the safety first mindset.
Welcome to a video brought to you by the training department at Deepwell Services. At Deepwell, hydraulic tongs are specialized tools we use in our daily operations. In this video, we will be discussing the proper rig up, hazards associated with the tongs, incidents we've had in the past, and proper operation.
Hydraulic tubing tongs are specialized tools used in the oil and gas industry for handling and manipulating tubing. These tongs are powered by hydraulic systems, which provide the necessary force to grip, rotate, torque, or disconnect tubing sections. In short, hydraulic tongs are a tool that we use to make and break tubing connections. At DWS, we utilize 3 different styles of tongs that we commonly refer to as Oil Country, Teda, and Universe Tongs.
Oil Country tongs are our fastest set of tongs. They're used when we're straight tripping in and out of the hole and there's no need to change direction. The Teda tongs are lighter and smaller tongs that we use during milling operations to make and break swivel connections.
Universe tongs are the largest style of tongs we use at Deepwell. They are primarily used to make and break swivel connections while running high torque tubing.
Prior to setting the tongs to the basket, it's important to inspect any rigging that we use for the lift. This includes lifting slings, shackles, and tag lines. Be sure that the tag lines are properly rated with no signs of wear or damage. Avoid using the hanging piston to lift the tongs overhead. You also want to avoid using the secondary retention as a lifting device to get them up to the basket. Instead, we'll take a lifting sling, fish it through the wishbone of the tongs, and then back through itself to choke it. If the lifting eye of the sling is big enough to fit on the hook of the crane, you can go ahead and directly hook that up. If not, you can connect the 2 halves with a shackle. Use the tag line hooked to the back of the tongs to steady the load while lifting it up to the basket with the crane. Make sure you have a long enough tag line to where you can stand a safe distance away so you're not up beneath that overhead load. Also make sure that you have plenty of slack in the line, there's no knots, it's not tangled up, it's not going to catch on anything. Never wrap the tong line around your hand while you're handling the load. You can cause injury to your hand by it getting pinched in that line. Be mindful as you're lowering the tongs down into the basket to watch your pinch points, specifically between the handles and the handrail. Usually I have one guy signal the crane and the other guy lowering them, make sure they're clear. Next, we're going to hook the tongs up to the tong post. Lower the tong post and hook the tong piston up to the tong post with the shackle. Be sure when you bend your cotter pin, we want both sides to be at least 45 degrees bent. Install the secondary cable for drops prevention. If the cable's too long or has too much slack, it won't help catch the tongs in the event that the piston does fail. So you can always add some fist grips to it or loop it around the hanger to take out some of that slack. Slowly lift the tongs via the tong post to the desired height. Make sure when you're lifting them up, they could shift left or right, front and back quickly, so give yourself plenty of space. Don't put your feet, hands, arms, any part of your body in a pinch point to where they could swing and catch you. Between the jack plate, between the mouse hole slips, between the tong posts, give yourself plenty of area. After the tongs are hanging, we're going to install the backup sling. This goes from the anchor point on the tong post to the back of the tongs. Again, make sure you bend both sides of that cotter pin at least a 45-degree angle. Next, we want to inspect our tong hoses, make sure there's no apparent damage, that the covering is all in good shape. We don't have any exposed metal wires. If we do have any exposed metal, then we need to swap those out with a new set of hoses. Verify the tong circuit is still dialed out at the bypass relief valve at the power pack, and then we're good to hook the tongs up from the floor up to the back of the tongs. After the hydraulic hoses are all hooked up, we can hook up the air that actuates the air piston on the backups. It's always best practice to have the handle for the air backups in neutral. That way, if you hook it up and it's in the actuated position, you don't accidentally catch yourself in those backups. Always keep your hands and body clear of that anyways, just to be safe as well. Once the tongs are hooked up, make sure you have your hands clear of all rotating assemblies. Dial the tongs in at the power pack. Once you confirm you're receiving hydraulic pressure to the tongs, we have to make sure the tong door lockout is functioning properly. This lockout prevents the tongs from functioning when the door is in the open position. Oil Country tongs are equipped with a mechanical lockout, while the Universe and Teda Tongs are equipped with a hydraulic lockout. This is something that needs to be checked as soon as you come on shift, multiple times throughout the day, and before you cross shift as well. At any time, if this is found to be functioning with the door in the open position, you have to stop and replace the components until we get it back in a working locked out position. Improper components installed may cause the safety devices or the tongs to malfunction. In between connections, leave the door in the open position, and it's best practice to tie them back to the handrail. That way they don't drift into the jack. Usually we use a bungee or a lanyard for quick off and on access to unhook these tongs. Next, we're going to review changing the Oil Country tong heads in the direction of the backups. Tong heads, which hold the tong dies, are placed inside the rotor with the correct size dies to bite on the corresponding size of tubing.
For ease of reference, we will be using layman's terms to refer to the jaw as the little head, the bushing as the big head, and the pivot and bushing pins as head pins.
After your heads up meeting, bring the tongs away from the handrail so the operator can lower them down to a working height. Try to keep the heads not over the hole of the jack so you can't drop anything down there, and be mindful of your pinch points as you're lowering the tongs down. If you're newer at changing the heads, it's best practice to lower them down enough to where you'll be able to see the holes lining up with your heads and the pins in your rotor. Rotate the heads clockwise or counterclockwise until the rotor is lined up with the opening in the front of your tongs. After it's lined up, give it a light bump in the opposite direction to relieve the pressure off of the small head.
Before placing your hands inside the tongs, the operator must de-energize the power to the tongs. This ensures the tongs don't move uninspectedly while an employee has their hands inside. They are de-energized by flipping the tong dump quarter turn on the operator console. Anytime you have your hands inside the tongs for any reason, you must engage this quarter turn. Failure to do so can result in major bodily harm.
After kicking out the tongs at the operator panel, function your throttle handle to ensure they're fully de-energized. Then you want to open the door as a means of secondary lockout. Remove the pin from the big head, place it somewhere it's not going to fall, and then pull the big head out through the bottom of the tongs. Repeat this process for the little head on the other side. Never reach straight through the opening in the tongs, just as an extra safety precaution. If you're just changing the dies and the direction is staying the same, reverse this process to reinstall the heads. When changing the direction of rotation, when we're going from brake to make or make to brake, we'll need to change the position of the rotor and the internal rollers. To do this, make sure your hands are clear and kick the power back in at the operator panel. Close the door, actuate your throttle handle back the opposite way off center to line up your rollers and your rotor so you can get the pins back in the little and big head. Kick out the power to the tongs once more at the operator panel. Function your throttle handle to confirm they're de-energized, and then open your door again. Now we're ready to install the heads back into the rotor. After reinstalling the heads, kick the power back in at the operator panel, close your door, and actuate the tongs to verify proper operation. When it comes time to flip the oil country backups, 2 guys are needed to do it safely. Take a look at the air hoses going to the cylinder on the back of the backups. You want to make sure that you flip this the right way so you don't put too much tension on those hoses. So if they're on the right side, you're going to be flipping them to the left. If they're on the left side, you're going to be flipping them to the right. I prefer crossing my hands when grabbing the handles to eliminate the need to replace my hands during the lift. One guy lifts up the back table while the other pulls the front support pin. When you bring it down, make sure you be mindful of your pinch points against the floor. Lift it back up to place the pin back in place. Make sure his hands are clear and set the table back down. Make sure you're lifting with your legs and not bending over with your back. Don't put yourself in a bad position. Now we will go over changing the Teda Tong dies and heads. This process applies to both the mix and the brake heads. First thing you want to do is make sure that you're in low mode so the handle is in the up position. Then you want to rotate your ring gear to expose one of the bolt holes on the sides. After that bolt's exposed, de-energize the tongs at the operator panel, close the door, and confirm that they have no power to the tongs. Then we're able to open that door up and remove that Allen bolt. Take our 3/8 Allen and remove the bolt. After we remove that Allen bolt, we're able to re-energize the tongs and repeat this process for the other side. Again, we're going to de-energize the tongs, shut the door, and function the handle to confirm that they're kicked out. Then we can remove the second Allen bolt. After the second Allen is removed, re-energize the tongs, shut your door, and line up your open gear with the tong door opening. We are then going to de-energize the tongs once more before grabbing those heads out. Before sticking your hands in, shut your door, make sure the power's out once more. Open your door back up just as a secondary lockout, and then we'll be reaching through the bottom and through the top. Again, don't reach to the front to get these heads out. Just in case there was some stored pressure in there, somehow these things operated, that would take your hand off. Reverse this process and ensure proper lockout tagout for each step while reinstalling the heads. You'll notice the heads have a slot on one side and not the other. That slot is for the Allen to match into, so that has to be facing out toward the front, the tong opening. Next, we will go over changing the dies in the Universe Tongs. The difference with the Universe and the other 2 styles of tongs is that for these ones, we're going to use the same heads for all types of tubing, all sizes of tubing, and only change out the dies. Instead of first the oil countries and the Tedas where we have to change both the heads and the dies. First, de-energize the tongs at the operator panel, function the handle to confirm they're kicked out, then open up your tong door as a secondary lockout. Next, we'll need to remove the 2 top screws that hold the heads into place. Just as with the Teda heads, we want to make sure we reach above and below to remove the heads, not through the center. After the dies have been changed, we can reinstall the heads. Put the screws back in through the spring that retracts the heads. After your heads are back in place, re-energize the tongs at the operator panel. Then you can close your door, confirm that they are functioning properly. Operating the tongs has its own set of hazards to be aware of.
As with any rotating equipment, avoid wearing loose-fitting clothes or a harness while operating the tongs. These can get caught in the gears and cause a major injury before you have time to react.
Only move and operate the tongs by using the designated handles. These should be painted green. And these are the safe places to place your hands to where they're not going to get injured. Use your body weight and legs when throwing the tongs. That'll keep your back in a lot better position. It may be easy to move them around with poor form for a few joints, but after a couple of hundred, it'll really start taxing your body. Be mindful of the pinch points between the handrail and the handles on the tongs.
Work with the motion of the tong post swing as well. Fighting the natural radius path will make your job much harder than it needs to be.
The next hazard we're going to cover is the potential to get a bad bite with the backups on the tongs. If this happens while you're in make mode, the tongs are going to quickly swing toward the gym pool. In brake mode, they're going to want to swing back toward the tong operator. Try to avoid doing this because you can damage the hydraulic fittings on the back of the tongs or the gauge on your standpipe iron. As a precaution, don't stand right up against the tongs when you're in brake mode. Give yourself an arm length of buffer zone. That way the backup strap catches in the event that you have a bad bite with the tong backups. Always push or pull on the rear handle of the tongs to ensure you have a good bite with the backups before hitting your throttle handle. Now that we've covered some of the hazards associated with running the tongs, we'd like to take a moment to talk about an incident that happened in the past at Deep Well from not following the proper safety precautions.
My name is Roy Holmes. I'm currently a roughneck with Deep Well Services. Considering recent injuries, thought it'd be good to talk about safety first. On April 16th, 2023, I sustained an injury to my left hand while working on the safety door of the tongs. Since my injury, I've had 2 reconstructive surgeries and an extensive amount of occupational therapy. While I am grateful to have retained use of my left hand, my life will forever be changed. I can't stress enough about the safety first mindset. There's no job or service more important or urgent that rig operations cannot be done with the safety first mindset. Having heads up meetings and talking about the task at hand ensures that everybody is on the same page. Having these meetings will reduce injuries and accidents due to the result of improper handling and maintenance of machines and equipment. I take immense pride in being associated with Deep Well Services, an organization that cares about the well-being and success of their employees. I encourage everyone to take the extra time and meetings and follow all protocols. I believe communication is the key in all that we do. It ensures safety for yourself and everyone involved. Stay safe, one team, one family.
I appreciate your time today in reviewing the most common tong hazards. One thing I want to leave you with is stressing how important communication is when working with the tongs. It only takes one forgetful moment to do some serious damage and change someone's life for the worse. Be sure to verbalize your actions not only in the heads up meeting prior to jumping into the task, but also throughout the process. By working together, we can ensure everyone goes home at the end of the day the same way they came in. Thanks for joining us for this video. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the training department at training@deepwellservices.com. Thank you and stay safe.